All right. We are going to talk about crafting some messages today, guys. Okay. We are going to talk about crafting some messages that are effective and they are highly converting messages. We've got a lot of great features inside the hub, right? We can do this auto response on our social media. We can have emails that are going out all the time. We can do text campaigns. We can do campaigns on Facebook and Instagram in our direct messages. We can do the keyword autoresponders, but here's the thing, like we can put all of that on automation and it can be the most amazing system ever. But unless we know how to effectively create these messages so that they convert, then we're kind of wasting our time. So I want to give you today some really great tips and kind of like a list and the availability of a checklist, right? I'm going to give you a checklist so that you can walk through some things. So today we're going to walk through steps of creating clear, compelling messages that engage and convert people. And then at the end of this training, you're also going to get that checklist. And then you can go through that every single time you are creating these auto messages. And if you go ahead and comment message during this training, we'll make sure that you get your hands on that checklist. Okay. So here's the thing. We're going to start with understanding your audience and the importance of targeting. Okay. If you haven't taken my perfect match training, it comes free to all of our hub members. You definitely want to take the perfect match training. And there's an entire workbook on creating your customer avatar. One of the best trainings out there for you to really dive in and get your niche figured out. So we're going to go over understanding your audience. We're going to go over crafting messages with strong headlines and value propositions and calls to action, because confused people do nothing. You have to tell them what to do. Okay. And then timing, frequency, and follow-up strategies. And then a little light touch on using data to analyze and optimize your messaging campaigns, because if we don't plan, do, review, and kind of check the stats, we don't know what worked and what didn't work. We're just going to try to remember who responded to what. And when you have a big system like the hub and you're on multiple social media channels and or you're doing email marketing or text marketing together, if you're not analyzing that data and you're just trying to remember all of this stuff, you're probably not going to remember where those customers actually came from once they've converted. So you definitely want to analyze what's working. And then a checklist for crafting the effective auto messages every single time. Okay. So first and foremost, understanding your audience. We need you to really, this is what people have the hardest time doing, niche way down and target that very specific person, your ideal audience. You have to know their pain points. You have to know their desires and how your offer solves their problems. And I always say, you want your offer to solve the problems that keep them up at night, that keep them tossing and turning. It's those little micro nitty gritty problems that get under their skin and they haven't been able to solve yet. If you can solve some of those for them, those lead to their bigger problems, of which then they will pay you to solve them. Okay. So here's the thing. If we don't niche way down and we don't identify that target persona really, really well, you're going to try to cast a wide net and talk to everybody, which kind of in network marketing used to be the way to do things. And that's bled into social marketing and all the things. Like you can see people just go out there on social media and they spam and they hope that people will come in. And if you're not talking specific to your niche, your audience, then you're not really getting the person to understand what you have is for them. So if I go out there and I talk very broadly about tech tools for any business owner, then they don't necessarily know what, like the mom and pop shop down the road that sells donuts doesn't know if I'm talking to them versus the network marketer that's selling their product on social media platforms know if I'm talking to them, right? And if I talk very specifically to the person that I'm trying to solve their problem for, the more likely they come to me and ask me for the solution, because I've talked their language, I've spoken about their exact pain points. They're like, how did they know? How did she know? How did he know? That's what's really bothering me. How did they know that that's the one thing that's keeping me up at night? Because you're talking specifically to them and not trying to cast this wide net. So the same thing goes for your messaging. You can't be talking to everybody in your messages. You have to talk specifically to the pain points and the person that you're trying to solve those problems for. So the most important thing is understanding your audience. It's the foundation of crafting all the messages that can convert for you. So write that piece down. Like, I have to know my audience, and I have to know their pain points, and I have to know what makes them tick. Okay. So then, key elements of a high converting message. You've got to have a headline. You've got to have value proposition, and you've got to have a call to action. So in that headline, you want to make sure that it's attention grabbing. Use questions, bold statements, intriguing facts. Make sure it aligns with the recipient's needs or interests, those pain points, the things that make them tick, the things that interest them the most. And then part two of the key elements, okay? Headline, value proposition. Once you have their attention, you have to deliver a very clear and compelling value proposition. The clear benefits need to tell them what's in it for them. They are not going to open your message. They're not going to read your message if they don't know what's in it for them. And make it unique. Why should they choose you over someone else? Especially if you're in the influencer network marketing arena, right? Like, there's a lot of people selling your same exact product. And then there's the Me Too's, right? Like, we have people selling a lot of the same type of product out there. Why should they choose you over someone else? Highlight what makes your offer different from theirs, because they could go buy it from anybody. Why do they need to buy it from you? So you need to let them know what's in it for them, and why they should come to you for getting what's in it for them, right? Make it very unique. All right. And then the third part of this is you need to have a strong call to action. I'll say it again. Confused people do nothing. Confused people do nothing. You have to tell them what to do. So, like, I'm going to tell you right now, comment message if you want the checklist that goes along with this training. So every time you go to craft your messages, you can go through the checklist. Okay. So comment message if you want that. Clarity. Use direct language like download now or sign up today, and then create some urgency in that call to action. Limited time, don't miss out. Comment now, download now, don't wait, right? You need to have all of those things in your call to action. So let's pause for a second. Think about your audience. Draft a really quick headline and call to action. Keep it short, keep it simple, but powerful. And then comment message if you want that list that I have for you, okay? And then the third part is timing and frequency. You want to get it right, okay? So the message at the wrong time is a missed opportunity. Timing and frequency matter. I'll give you this. Like, we started putting some different workflows and automations in place, and while, sometimes you're just testing things out and you don't mean for something to happen, but when you're dealing with automations and things like that, it's not always going to be perfect on your first run, right? So we had some messaging that was going out a few weeks ago, and people were getting some of our messages at like 2 o'clock in the morning. I keep my phone off. My notifications are not on at 2 o'clock in the morning, but some people's are, right? And so they don't want to be getting a SMS at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's really weird for that to happen. So I could relate when they were sending me a message back saying, I don't really like getting texted at 2 in the morning. You're right. I could have lost that customer over that because that's not appropriate. So make sure your timing and frequency is right. You also don't, when I've gotten into people's automations before, and like, all of a sudden I'm getting like 3 messages in a row and then not one for 2 weeks. Like, if your system is doing that, it's broken. You're going to lose a customer. I opt out of those. I already know they're not paying attention. They're not paying attention to me. It doesn't matter to them. And so it needs to be optimal timing in between those messages too. Not too short, not too long. Don't want them all piled up in one day, but you don't want to take 17 weeks to get through all those messages either. Balance, be consistent, but avoid overwhelming your audience. You do need to space out those messages, and you don't want to create fatigue with your client or your prospect, okay? So when in doubt, just start out slow and ramp up based on how your audience responds to it. And that's a part of your like planning, doing, and reviewing of the whole process, okay? And then follow up. The secret to sales is follow up. They say that fortune is in the follow up, but here's the thing. Without automation, most of us aren't following up in a timely fashion, and we can't keep up, especially on social media when those posts go wild or those reels go wild. We can't keep up with all of it. And so 80% of sales require 5 or more follow-ups. You know that. I know that. We've all heard the sales stats, right? 80% require 5 or more follow-ups, more like 8 to 12. Okay. So, but most businesses, most salespeople stop after 1 or 2. So don't let that be you. You have got to have a good follow-up system. And that's why we're putting all of this automated messaging in place. So Every follow-up should have an offer of something. And I learned this a long time ago, and this was from a really great, simple book in the network marketing space, like how to become a professional network marketer. And this isn't just for network marketers, it's for social marketers, influencing marketers, all kinds of people who sell on social platforms, right? So you always want to be setting the next appointment at the current appointment that you're on. Now, you can take that in all kinds of contexts. It could be an email to the next email to asking them to do something. It could be a phone call appointment to a next phone call appointment, but the value is still the same there. The message is still the same there. So every time you follow up with something, you should be asking them to do something. Even, I mean, whether it's new information or a special offer or social proof, let's have them do something so that you're scheduling them to do something either in their brain or physically scheduling an appointment with you or whatever it is. You want to follow up with something valuable. You can use Self-Made Hub, obviously, to create that whole follow-up sequence, have lots of call to action and value of content going out on a regular basis that's spaced out appropriately and doing all the things that I'm talking about here. Okay. Number 5, you want to analyze and optimize your campaigns. So KPIs, so KPIs, if you're new to the business world, KPI stands for key performance indicator, just a business term. You want to focus on your open rates, click-through rates, conversion rates, unsubscribe rates when you're talking about emails, opt-out rates, the stop, that people put on your text message or your SMS. You want to know when someone DNDs you. You can see that in your hub reports. And then experiment, do some A/B testing, experiment with different subject lines, different calls to action, different times of sending, what works best for your audience, when are you getting the most response, and make sure you're paying attention to it so that you know how to change it when you do need to do the plan, do review. Okay. Always be on the road of continuous improvement. Regularly update your sequences based on data to keep your content fresh and engaging all the time. And hey, here's another thing. Inside the Self-Made Hub, all the analytics and dashboard is in there to measure success and fine-tune your campaigns for higher conversion. So be checking in there regularly on all of these campaigns that you're sending out because all of the data is there for you. All right. We talked about understanding your audience, knowing their pain points, what they want, what they don't want. We talked about crafting strong messages and focusing on headlines, focusing on the value and the clear call to action. Confused people do nothing, right? What do confused people do? They do nothing. Time your messages well. Send them when your audience is most likely to engage. Don't be sending out messages at 2 o'clock in the morning. Check your automations. Time your follow up. Your follow up is consistent. You need to have consistent follow up. Saying this like backwards 3 times because I'm talking too fast. Don't give up after the first message. Persistence is key, and you have to have a really good follow up system in place. Remember, 80% of people need you to follow up with them probably 8 to 12 times before they're actually going to convert to something. So you have to have a consistent follow-up game. That fortune really is in that follow-up. And then number 5, analyze and optimize, always tracking and refine based on the data. Okay. Now, I promise to give you a checklist. Comment message below, and we're going to get that checklist to you. Okay. And part of that checklist, I'm going to run through a few of them right now, but I'm going to send you a PDF that is actually a checklist if you comment message below. Okay. So number 1 is define your audience, know their pain points. Number 2, write a compelling headline, grab their attention with relevance and intrigue. Number 3, offer a clear value proposition, highlight the benefits and your unique offer. Number 4, create a strong call to action, make it clear, make it direct, make it time sensitive. Number 5, optimize timing and frequency, send messages at the right times, and don't overdo it. Don't put too much time in between. Don't put enough time, not enough time in between. Follow up consistently, use multiple touch points, and we say multiple channels, right? You've got Instagram DMs, Facebook DMs, SMS, and email marketing all within the hub. So you can put these follow-up sequences on different platforms to hit them in different places to find out where your customer is living the most. Okay. Number 7, track performance, monitor the open rates, the click-through rates, the conversions, and then A/B test regularly. Experiment with different elements to see what works best for you, like different headlines, different hooks, different call to action, and see what's working for your audience, especially when you're doing reels and content out there. And then adjust. Number 9 is adjust based on your data, refine your messaging, and that's it. Now you have the blueprint for creating effective, high converting auto response messages that are going to keep your leads engaged and your business growing. Comment message below to grab your cheat sheet so that you have it with you every single time. Hope this was a lot of value for you.